Assalamualaikum everyone. Hope that you guys are doing great. So, by the time you hear this episode, I have inshallah been through with this. So, I'm recording this actually early. Um I think right now when I'm recording this, I think there's nearly a week or two before I graduate. And today I was really pondering upon it and I had quite a lot of thoughts and I was like, I want to talk about this somewhere. I want to let it out. And this is what this is. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my most honest experience and the most honest advice that I could potentially give you that I learned through my high school years. So, I entered high school, I think, when I was maybe 14. I don't know how old you are when you're in freshman year. And today I am 18. So, inshallah, if God wills, I'll graduate. I'm always going to post this after I graduate. But I feel like I've learned a lot of things. And the things that I'm about to say is probably not what you hear other graduates say. I have been seeing for the past week, people post sad TikToks and like picture spams, and they're like, oh, I'm so sad. High school's over. I cannot believe it. Like, I cannot go on. Like, they're so sad about it, right? And if you want me to be really, really honest with you, I feel very numb and I don't feel anything. This is probably not what you hear most people say. Most people either say, oh my God, I'm so excited to get out of there. I'm so excited to graduate. And then some people are like, oh, I'm so sad. I don't want to leave. But I just feel numb. And I feel like a lot of that is because I genuinely don't know how I should feel about it. I think a lot of people, say, well, high school's just a little thing, just graduate. And yeah, it's just, it's whatever. It's just high school. It's not a big deal. But I feel like as a Muslim, sometimes when you look at the way other people like perceive their memories and they're talking about what they did the 4 years, you think about it and you're like, I never did any of those things. So it's really normal to sometimes feel like you missed out, like you didn't do enough. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never went to a prom, never went to a dance, never went to anything. I never went to any football game, any basketball game, any baseball game, any volleyball game. I never went to any sporting events. I never really stayed after school in any clubs. Anyone that required me to stay after school, I did not do it. Barely to none ever did community service. I never really did a lot of those things. I never got involved in bachelorette parties, in just whatever people threw. Never did any of them. And now when I see people like post pictures and post and talk about the parties that they're going to and how people are throwing graduations parties, I'm gonna be brutally honest with you that I don't have those experiences. And I feel like that is something that makes your heart a little bit heavy, and I want to just let it out, I guess. I feel like a lot of times as Muslims, when you actually practicing your faith, you realize that a lot of these events don't serve you. You realize that, okay, well, I can't listen to music and they're going to be pumping music there. I can't not be in a big free mixing environment, and that's the biggest free mixing that it gets. I'm not going to go to prom. Everyone dresses inappropriately. There's music, there's free mixing. What is there not? There people are doing drugs. Like, obviously, as a Muslim, that doesn't serve me. Majority of the basketball, baseball, football games, they have really, really weird dress code attires that are not modest, that are not fitting for Muslims. They have music all the time. They have a lot of free mixing. And if anything, a lot of those events actually crash into your prayer time, which is like, oh, if I was to go at a sort of time, like it wouldn't even end till Isha. And it's like, where am I supposed to pray Maghrib? And they're blasting music. And it's like, there's just a lot of those things about those events that, you hear from other people. And you realize that as Muslims, well, I can't go to that. I can't go to that. I can't go to that. And ultimately, I feel like in my life, I feel like especially when, freshman, sophomore year, when I wasn't so close to the deen, but I was praying and whatnot, I feel like everything to me was, I just want experiences. I want memories. I want to say that I had like the best high school time of my life. And now that I'm older and now that I can go places on my own, I could do whatever I want. I found myself to actually be more at home, if anything. And I feel like people don't talk about this because they sound like pick me's, and I hate to sound like a pick me, but I'm just being honest about my experience because a lot of people don't actually have a dream, beautiful high school experience. A lot of people actually battle high school through suicide. They're literally suicidal the whole year round, maybe 4 years, and some people are cripplingly depressed. Some people went through a lot academically, emotionally, house-wise, and it's like there's a lot of memories that are attached. And I feel like me as an individual, when someone says, well, what did you do when you're 15, I automatically think, what did I do in school? what memories I have from there. And I feel like another thing is like so many people have just so many friends, and when you don't have that necessarily big friend group and let's go out and take graduation pictures and let's have parties, it gets to you. I'm being honest, it does. Now, not taking away from the fact that I'm eternally grateful that I have the ability to get an education. I'm talking about the experiences, because people don't talk about that. And especially as high schoolers, well, I'm through with high school by the time you hear this, but as teens, a lot of people want experiences, and that's why they're out there doing haram stuff, because they feel like that's what will get them the experience. And I'm here to talk about that. So I do want to preface that in no way, shape, or form of being ungrateful. I'm so, so, so thankful, alhamdulillah, that God has blessed me with such a peaceful educational experience. It is a blessing, right? But I'm here to talk about the memories. For my graduation, they were giving 10 tickets to everybody, and they were like, after that, like, you're gonna have to pay to get more. And everyone was like, oh my god, just 10, that's so less. That's so less. Like, oh my god, like, I'm literally gonna go broke buying tickets. And I'm like, I could barely find one person to bring, because my family's usually busy. I'm gonna try to get my mom, my brother to come, inshallah. But it's like, I'm literally giving away my tickets. I could not even scratch up 3 people, 5 people. I had one friend in mind that I was really, like, a couple friends that I really wanted to kind of, like, I was thinking like, oh well, hopefully they'll come. Hopefully I could talk to them, but they just, the contact just never stayed. As much as I tried, as much as it hurts me every day, because there's certain people that, like, you plan stuff with, that you have friends with, and you're like, oh my god, like, this is like bestie, like, you're gonna come to my graduation, it's just gonna be perfect, like, we're gonna go out. And then it's like, when the time comes and you realize that a lot of the people that you plan the plans with are not there to actually live it out with you, it hurts. I remember in the beginning of my freshman and sophomore year, I had so many friends, not good friends, but I mean, like, school friends. Like I was really, I don't know how to explain this. I had no friends, but I had friends. You know what I'm saying? I was surrounded by people, but they never understood me. And I just feel like now none of those people were necessarily good people. Um, some of them were, some of them weren't. And you'd think about those experiences, and it was like always caught up in something, checking up on other people that you don't even have time for yourself. And it was really strange the way that life worked, how, like, one, two, three of them kind of broke off, left separate times. And then it was like Allah took all those people and threw them in a bag, and literally, bam, all of them left at once out of my life. And a lot of that happened my junior year of high school. And it was just like in a bag. It was like God literally just wrapped up. It was like, yeah, time's done. You're out. And just gone. And I feel like a big part of my junior year was adjusting to that, adjusting to kind of like being lonely again and being okay with that. And now that I'm a senior, I'm 100% okay with that. I don't mind it. But a lot of my life was like that, and I was always like, oh, what am I gonna do when I graduate? Like, I can't not, like, I have so many people that I need to keep up with. Like, I thought that friendships were very, very surface level. Friendships could be very, very deep if you want them to be, but it was a very surface level friendship. And I thought, well, everyone's like this. No, everyone's not like that. You can have really good deep friends who understand you. And even besides, like, the friend groups and the people, I just feel like ultimately, like, I remember sophomore year, and we got news in our school about COVID, and I think it was like March maybe, and they were like, oh, you're just gonna be off for 2 weeks, and till everything calms down, they're gonna come back. And everyone was like on top of Sky 9, Cloud 9, like, oh my god, we're off for 2 weeks, so fun, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, da da da. Like, COVID, people were not even bothered by COVID. I remember people in my school were literally making plans of going places. And my mom, on the other hand, my mom was like, no, we're not gonna go anywhere, there's COVID, gonna stay inside the house, which was reasonable. But I remember the 2 weeks, and I was just like, I'm gonna be back, okay, no problem, right? And it was like, we're gonna come back and take our finals and whatnot, and state tests, whatever. And those 2 weeks slowly turned to 3, then half a week, then another day, then eventually school for us ends in May here in Georgia. And May rolled around, and they decided to announce, like, are we gonna come back or are we not? And sophomore year, they announced that we're not coming back to school, and, like, you're off on summer after this. Everyone went crazy, so happy, so excited. Oh my god, we're on summer early, we're at home, no school, whatever. Everyone was happy about it in the beginning. And I was just like, upset in a way. I was a little bit down. I was like, oh, well, I have a social life to attend. I have things I need to do. Like, I'm busy. Like, but I was also ultimately happy. I was like, okay, thank God. Like, I'm at home. And it was great, but a part of me was also like, what do I do at home? You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's a really big problem. Like when you have hobbies, but you don't have hobbies. No, I have hobbies. I do have quite a few. I just felt like I never found the downtime to do them. And now, even with like the COVID summer and everything, I had quite a few experiences where God took people out of my life. And I had more downtime to do hobbies. But instead, what I devoted my time to was overthinking. Overthinking about life, overthinking about the way that things worked out. Why was life like this? Things like that. And just among the whole nature. And then when junior year started, I bet all of you remember that it was like the biggest hustle bustle. You have to get a computer, you need to get your books ready, whatnot. We're all learning at home. Come pick up your textbooks. And it was like the biggest thing. I remember stores were sold out of laptops. Like the laptop import was just not enough because of online learning, and it was just chaotic. Some teachers unfortunately were old. They did not know how to use online systems. Kids were not learning. Some kids became incredibly depressed. That was one thing. People became incredibly depressed being at home all the time. In the beginning, it was fun, and then it got serious. Then the ish got real. People became incredibly depressed. Some people were realizing that they didn't like who they were. I know that was a really big thing that went on where people were like, crap, wait, I actually have to spend time with myself. I don't like me. And I feel like since I got the taste of that a little bit throughout my freshman and sophomore year, when I was like, I'm bitter, I don't like this, I don't like who I am, I feel like I already acknowledged my rights and my wrongs and what I wanted to do for myself, but it was just about like, when are you going to do it? A lot of times in life, it's always, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. Well, when are you going to do it? And when junior year came around, I was incredibly set on my mind that I'm not going to allow myself to slip to a depression. The whole world can get depressed, but I have to take care of myself. And I was like, I can't allow myself to get sad, especially not now, because if I slip now, I don't see a way out. Especially with COVID, I don't think people realized how much people were actually at home. If you were actually, cautious about everything that happened, you would be at home a lot. We were home a lot. It was just wake up, school, do schoolwork after school. Your eyes used to be so tired of the screen by the end of the day, and it was just school, school, school. Maybe if you're lucky enough, you could go to the park. But even then, like, people were just dying right and left because of COVID, and everyone just had this all different fear and whatnot. And I feel like that's one of those times in your life where, when you're like actually stuck at home, you realize about your home environment a lot more as well. Like, oh crap, like my so and so is a little bit toxic, or this person is actually really nice. I don't know why I never talked to them before. Or, you know what I'm saying? You end up also realizing a lot about your friends, the people that check up on you and the people that completely forgot about you just because they didn't see your face for a week and a half. And I think that really spoke volumes to me, because I had lots and lots of people who completely forgot about me. I didn't forget them. I tried my best to, keep contact, whatever, but completely forgot about me. Um, and it hurt because I gave those people a lot of time and attention and whatnot, but it is what it is, right? And I feel like that taught me really valuable lessons, that sometimes a lot of your friendships are only run by you, not by the other side. As long as you say hi, as long as you text first, as long as you're taking care of them, as long as, you come to class that day, as long as you check up on them why they're not there, as long as you are there, as long as you are the action and they're the receiver, I'll keep going. But the day you stop acting, and the day they stop receiving, it's done. And I feel like that was something that I always knew growing up, and I was like, oh, we should avoid people like that. But I didn't realize a lot of the closest people in my life are unfortunately like that. And sometimes it takes stepping back from people to realize what type of people they are. And that's how I learned a lot of my, close friends were like that. When junior year also came, I promised myself, I was like, I cannot afford to get depressed again. Like, I'm not even again, like I was getting out of it. I was like, I cannot slip up again. And this was the time around the year when I really started finding Islam through a close friend, through, social media, through TikTok, through just going through Ramadan, earlier, like just through all these different things. Like, it started coming to me, and slowly but surely it was like, okay, well, I'm gonna stop doing this, I'm gonna stop doing this. Allah says that this is haram, Allah says this is halal. Like, you became a lot more cautious, and the small changes consisted up. And then I was like, I like who I'm becoming, right? I like it. And I was a lot more happier. And online school wasn't always easy. There was lots of times that I was really stressed out. I used to ballistically cry. But I can confirm that COVID was really kind to me in regards to my one self to figure out who I am. And I eventually did. I eventually did feel like, okay, well, I like this. I don't like this. Let's take this out. And I started to understand myself a lot more. And when I did become to a point where I was healing and I was like, wait, I'm okay, it became very, very hard for me to want to be around people because I did not want them to take that away from me. The sense of feeling okay inside your heart is very difficult because you don't want people to take it away from you after you have worked really hard to gain it. Because at the end of the day, it was people in your own life and your own sins that took it away from you in the first place. And I think that once you learn and you acknowledge what it means to actually be happy and what it means to be okay, your life changes. Being happy is not conditional. Being happy is not, well, when I get this, I'll be happy. When I'm like this, I'll be happy. When I'm this age, I'll be happy. Being happy is realizing that I may not have everything that I want. Things have may have not went the way that I wanted, but I am so okay with me and my life that I'm not going to let it weigh me down. Happiness is obviously a destination, it's never a journey. Happiness is a blessing. I think that is a gift from God, and I think if God blesses you with happiness, you should be thankful for it every day. I think that feeling content and feeling happy is a gift from God, and I think that a lot of us don't realize that. And I think that it takes a lot of unhappiness and sadness to actually appreciate happiness. And ultimately, I think a big part of me was really defensive about the fact that I finally became okay, that I did not want to be around people, which led me to a lot of isolation. But it was, I think, in a manner, to some extent, it was healthy, to some extent, it wasn't. To some extent, it was good because I learned more about the deen and became a lot more confident on my ability to believe what I believed in. But to some extent, it was also kind of harmful because I was worried about what's going to happen when I do have to go back to school my senior year. And a part of me was like, well, I just hope that my senior year is also online because I just don't have it in me to go back there. Same building, same people, same crap. Like, I really, it took a lot in me to become okay. And it took a lot in me to find my dean. I don't want to go back there. So they offered this thing junior year where it was this academy. And they were like, you can join this academy and you'll stay online, but you'll be outside of the school system. And I had a choice. Do I want to go outside the school system my senior year and just be at home and learn online from some random academy? Or do I just want to go back to school? And every part of me was rationally making the choices. And academically, it made more sense to go back to school for your senior year. Emotionally and logically, every part of me was like, oh, just go online. You're so content. You're happy. You don't need anyone in that school. You don't even have any friends left there anyway. What are you going to do learning there? Go academically. You've been fine. And that way, you'll just start brand new. All I wanted was brand new. I just wanted to start brand new. And I was hoping that college would be the brand new. I don't want to go back into that same high school as a completely different, changed person because I myself felt like it was really difficult for me to recognize myself. How would other people perceive me? And so when time came to make the choices and the forms were sent, I eventually chose to go back to school because academically it made more sense for me to do that instead of me going to some weird academy that I had no clue about. I made the decision and I told my parents, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go back. They were cool with it. I inside was not. Every day I sat there at night just thinking, what am I gonna do when I go back? When I'm completely different, I'm not the same. I'm not talking the same, not acting the same, just nothing about me is the same. How much judgment will I face? Will I stay the same? And my biggest fear was I'm going to end up the exact same way that I was before. And I'm going to fall in that loop again. And I was like, no, I cannot allow myself to do that. I know I'm going to get depressed. I know that I'm feeling a lot better now. So how do I stop myself from falling into that loop? But it seemed like that building, just those people, that place, everything about it is sinking me. It's so much fitna. I do not get how I'm not supposed to fall. And all summer, it just ate me up all summer, every day, every single day, every night. That's all I thought about. It was one of those things that I questioned myself a lot about. I was like, academically, I feel like I'm making a smarter choice than going somewhere where I don't even know what it's going to be like after working so hard for 3 years. Why go somewhere random for the last year? Like, I don't know. That was just my case. I did not know. My mom was also not in favor of it. And so we were all like, okay, like, might as well go. And a big part of me, like one of the thoughts that always went through my brain was, well, here's how I perceived it. There was two routes. My fear said to me that if you just stay online, like you don't go back and you don't have to see those people again, you don't have to be there again, you don't have to relive what you went through there again, and you start brand new in college, you'll be settled, you'll be fine, you'll be content, it'll be smooth. However, the other side of me that had a lot of tawakkul in Allah said, well, why are you fearing a situation that you don't even know how it's going to end up? At the end of the day, everything that happens is through Allah and through, our free will, but ultimately Allah knows best. So we cannot sit here and make a poor judgment and say that I will fall into fitna again, because then you're bound to. And every single part of me was like, you cannot be a coward and get out now and then say, oh, well, I totally grew through the most difficult situations in my life, which, yeah, I did, but I was like, now that it's time to face those things front on, you can't chicken out just because you are nervous about what's going to happen or nervous about how people are going to think of you. This deen is bigger than people's thoughts, than people's, how they perceive you, than how people like you or whether they don't like you. Whether someone likes me for how I became or whether someone doesn't like me for how I became, it doesn't matter. What does that have to do with me? The deen is so much more valuable to me than these people. And I told myself that if you get nervous and you back out now, what's going to happen is this is going to become, unfortunately, sometimes a event that happens a little bit more often than it should, where you're going to start avoiding meeting up with people, avoiding going out, avoiding going to school, avoiding going to college, avoiding doing these things because you're scared that your iman will fall short. But that's the thing, like, you're in the dunya to live in it. Like, if me and you were to be closed up in a house and all we did was worship, of course things would, be different. But now, of course, with the way that life works, we have things to do, we have an education to get, money to make, food to bring. Like, there's the situation's just different. Ultimately, I eventually did end up going back, obviously. And it was, I think, the day that I really got panicked about my decision was open house, where, you just go, get your schedule, meet your teachers, see your classes, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to open house. No, I'm not going. And I made up my mind. I was like, I'm not going to go in there earlier than I need to go. Like, besides the first day of school and on, I'm not going to go there earlier. I cannot, I don't want anyone to say something to me at open house and I reconsider my entire life. I reconsider everything, right? And I think it was the day of open house. I was getting ready, getting in, whatnot, right? And I feel like at one point I was even looking for the forms that were like, you could go back online, like sign this, let your parents sign it, put it in the mail. I was really desperately looking for them online, emails, through school stuff. And, my mom was calling some aunties like, hey, did your child go back online? Because Hero wants to do it. I was like, please ask them. I need help. I don't want to go. Like, I was that panicked because I did not want to go back. Open house time came and I was like, okay, well, I'll just see my schedule online. My schedule did not get posted online. As far as I'm aware, I don't think I got to see it. Or maybe I did, not sure. Whatever it was, I had to end up going anyway, right, to see my teachers. So I go to open house and God, I walk in and I was like, yeah, I know where this is going. I am going to get the awkward stares. And I did. And, I had people awkwardly staring at me. I was very, very, I feel like I was a lot more not perceived as nervous as it actually was. Like, I talked to some of my teachers that I learned from online the year before. I visited my teachers. No one said anything to me. I did get some looks, but ultimately it was smooth. I avoided everyone and I got out there as quick as I could. So I was like, great. And I just got my schedule and everything and I came home and I was just like, okay, what do I do? And I was just sitting there and, like, this is usually the time, like, as kids, like, you go on your Snapchat and, like, you post your schedule and you're like, hey, who got a class with me, swipe up. Y'all know when you be doing that in freshman year? Yeah, no, well, I didn't have Snapchat because, again, like, I deleted all those things and I was through. I had no one asked, like, hey, what's your schedule like? I knew, like, one girl that, like, I used to kind of know a lot in middle school. When I saw her open house, I was like, hey, let me see your schedule. I had nothing with her. I didn't really have class with anyone that I knew. So I was like, okay, so I'm alone again this year. Okay, main character energy, whatever, right? And came home and I was like, okay, that wasn't too bad. I can do that. And a part of me was also like, well, that's also because you don't see the people that are in your class. Like, when you actually go, there's a whole different experience. And yeah, that was right. And first day of school came around and I think it was senior year, first day of school. And oh my God, I feel like I can't even remember it. But at the same time, like, everything about it was like, so I was so nervous the night before. And now it's like, I'm like, what about it? I'm like through with it. I remember I sat alone in a lot of my classes. I just didn't know that many people. It was really weird, like after COVID. Um, and it went smooth. I came home, I had no problem, and I kept going like that. And as time went on, I made a couple, like, school acquaintances. I met people, but ultimately, like, I was still feeling alone when it came to regards to like finding friends on Lean and stuff like that. And that's still a thing, but it's just not something that affects me too deeply now because I'm like through with it. And I feel like your senior year is when all the events happen, the prom, the games, the this, the that, like just so many things happen, and everyone is hustling and bustling about so many different things. People are having like professional people, like studios, take their graduation pictures at beaches and parks and lakes and whatnot, and everyone was, oh, I'm getting this graduation picture done, I'm wearing this dress and I'm wearing this to graduation, and for prom I'm getting my own dress tailored and it's custom handmade sewed, and it was just all that stuff that happens in senior year. And every time people are like, hey, you gonna go? I'm like, no. You're gonna go? No. Are you there? No. Because it just, those events never served me. And I felt like as Muslims, it was just wasn't my place, right? And I feel like in the moment when I was rejecting those events, I never felt anything. And I still don't feel anything. I don't regret it. I would not go. Because as Muslims, I just don't think that a lot of those events are necessarily good events, right? And they don't align with our moral beliefs. And so one of the things that happens quite often is Bible study clubs. That was one thing. And I feel like being a hijabi, that's already kind of awkward. And just throughout the whole experience, there was a lot of events that I never went to. And I feel like I definitely don't regret it. I'm like, I don't regret it. I do wish that I had friends that were like, like Muslim close friends that I could have done stuff with, but at the same time, ultimately, I'm so grateful for what in God has already given me that I don't feel anything. Like, I'm not negative about it. One of the craziest things that really happened my senior year, and this was now actually, was nearly, I think, 4 days ago. This is a little bit of a whirlwind story, so just hold on because this gets somewhere. I was really, really used to just, come to school. I chill in the parking lot. If you're in my Discord, I do live podcasts in the morning, and I just talk till like 8:15, and then I go to school. And this one day in particular, I think it was a while ago. I'm gonna post this after I'm done with school because I do not think I could post this while I'm in the school. But it's not like anyone from school even knows my podcast. But just for safety reasons. I mean, it was on the news. Trust me, my podcast is not the issue. It was already on the news. Um, so I think it was a Tuesday, and woke up like normal, just was rushing. I had no thoughts in my mind. My mind was just, I gotta get to school, gotta drop my brother off. I have this, I that, like, just typical thoughts. I have a test maybe soon, or I have school's ending, like, just bare thoughts, nothing special. And get to school, I do a live podcast. We're laughing, having fun, talking to the girls on the live podcast, and I think we were talking about, what was it called? Was it like loving yourself? I don't know. It was like different topics, and we were just talking, talking, talking. So at this time, I end the podcast. I'm like, all right, y'all, bye, going to school, whatever. And I get out, I grab my book bag, I have my earbuds in, and I see this girl come up to me. And this was a girl that I was friends with, and we're still friends. It was just, we didn't have classes, so, natural distance apart. And she was with a group of people. She comes up to me. She goes, the whole school is red. The whole school is lighting up red. I was like, what do you mean? What's going on? And I pause everything, and I'm like, what do you mean? And I look towards the building, and I just chaos. And it's like, there's like lights flashing and all this is going on. And I'm like, what happened? And she's like, I don't know. Like, the whole school is red. And her group of friends quickly get into the car. And I'm standing outside, and I'm just like, confused, because I'm like, okay, like someone probably said something stupid. And I was like, okay, like what is code red? Like, and we were assuming like maybe a bomb threat or like a gun threat. But at the same time, like, I didn't think anything was actually happening. Nothing happens here. This is the South. Nothing happens here. Literally, the most action we have in the South is like none. None. Okay, nothing happens here in the South schools. It's like people do tornado drills, fire drills, and like all of these code drills, just everything. Like, it's considered a joke here because we all collectively just were like, yeah, nothing really happens in the district schools. And in my 4 years, nothing has ever happened. And So at this point, I'm looking around the parking lot and I see some people that are walking towards the school that don't know. And I see like some people coming back, some people going. I'm like, what's going on? And so at this point, like, her and her group of friends sit in the car and I'm still standing out. And I'm like, well, why are we all acting like this? Like, it is, someone probably said something. Let's just sit in our cars for 10 minutes and then watch. Like at 8:30, they're going to send out a message and be like, okay, everyone come back to school. So at this point, I don't think it's anything serious. I'm like, okay, literally, they're gonna call us back in 15 minutes. It's not that deep. So essentially, at this point, I'm thinking, okay, well, it's just 15 minutes. I'm just gonna wait it out, and no problem. I see people that went up to the front, running, screaming, coming back. I see people pulling and reversing their cars. I see people shouting. They're like, get out of here right now, and all this and whatnot. So I pick up my phone, I call one of my friends, I say, hey girl, what's going on? She goes, someone got stabbed, get out of there right now. They're about to block off the parking lot, you're gonna get stuck in there. And I was like, oh my God. And like, I feel like the thing is, me panic, like, no, listen, I just don't like to do that, right? And being in, like, when I see other people panic, I start to panic. And I'm like, okay, so people are panicking, and I'm panicking, and I'm like, why am I panicking? Like, hold on, like, take a breather, right? And I feel like growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I feel like, especially, like, just saying, I grew up on Flatbush, okay? If you know, you know. Um, there's stuff that's always going on. And in New York, the thing is like just mind your business. That's it. You see something, you mind your business. We mind our business too much in New York to the point that like someone will be getting murdered and people will be like, that's none of my business. Literally, it's like that. And but like here in the South, like we up in everyone's business, right? And for me, this was like a first time thing because I remember the high school that I was gonna go to in New York. I have friends that go there, and they always tell me stories about what's going on up in there. And my sister actually went there too. Like, there's always something going on. Someone stabbing someone. Someone's hand got stabbed. Someone this happened, and then they just continue school like normal, like they don't care. And I feel like at that point, like you get used to it. But like for us here, like since nothing happens, and since we're practically not prepared for it, everyone was like on havoc. The teachers, everyone, and it was weird. So at this point, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, nah, she probably got the news wrong. Anybody get stabbed. Like, it's just, I was so mentally convinced that nothing happens here. Like, I was so mentally convinced. I was like, no. And I just sit there in my car for like a solid 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, hold on, Hera. Even if someone did or didn't, why are you here? Because at this point, is whoever was locked inside the school, they were locked in, they couldn't leave, and everyone outside was locked outside. So the problem that honestly was kind of the concerning part was, well, if you were locked inside the school, if whatever the danger was came outside of the school, they were blocking the parking lots. So now we would all have to hide in our cars for dear life and lock your cars, hope that no one breaks through your window if something was to happen. So at that point, I'm like, okay, it's low-key a lot more dangerous to actually be in the parking lot because now we can't leave and we're in cars and we're just bare out there. So I might as well go home. I take out my car, I get out of there, and as I'm going, I see from the other side of the road, it's like these ambulances were coming, police cars, just fast speed, everything going. And I live like 2 streets away from my school, so not far. And even when I came home and I parked and I got inside my house, I was still hearing the sirens. And then a couple hours later, they started having like helicopter surveillance, like the whole area for hours. And it was just going on and on and on because it was still danger. And at this point, like I'm home and I don't even know what to do. And I remember when I was driving home, I just felt so panicked because I didn't know what to think of it. Because in that moment, even though I didn't see anything, nothing happened to me, alhamdulillah, I was just thinking about everything that mattered to me. And I know that some people might say, "Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Nothing happened to you." Yeah, nothing happened. I'm fine. So I'm not saying like, it's me. I'm the main character. No, but in that moment, I was just thinking, and I was thinking about the person that got stabbed, and I was thinking about just the whole situation. And I was like, so many of us wake up every day, and the only thing that matters to us is what is there, the stupid little worldly things. And even if you care about your akhirah and you are praying and you are reading Quran and whatnot, it's like it's on your mind. But like ultimately, you are never put into that place where you question what's gonna happen if I lose it all right now. And I was thinking to myself, and in that moment, the only thing that I was thinking about was my akhirah. And I was like, crap, like things could have ended up really differently. Of course, Allah knows best. And alhamdulillah, Allah protected practically everyone, right? And I was like, Allah knows best. But I was like, that could have been very, very different. And whether it's here or whether it's somewhere out there, anywhere in the world, whether it's at a store, whether it's at a park, it doesn't matter. Whatever's meant to happen will happen. And I'm just sitting there thinking, and I'm like, you don't know what little fun day trip that you get up to take it to the park with your girls could literally be your last. You don't know that you skipping prayer just to go out for a bit literally could be your last time going out. And of course, I feel like as Muslims, even if it's not a big situation, you learn from it. And I think that's what is very special about us, that your reminder of your ahira, it will always remind you. Like you will always find it near you. And I was just driving home and I was just thinking about that, and I was like, you know, if situations were to work out differently, I wouldn't have cared about, my house. I wouldn't have cared about my grades. I wouldn't have cared about, the test. I wouldn't have cared about no finals. I wouldn't have cared about any about that. I would have literally been thinking, what can I last minute good deeds can I do that if I was to die, I'd go to heaven. And that was a train thought that just came in my head. And it's not necessarily about what happened, but it just really put into perspective for me that no matter where I go, no matter what you do, as safe as you feel, as wherever you feel, and as blatant as you feel, you never know what is to come. And I feel like as time went on, and when I got home, I was just sitting there thinking about it and everything. And I was thinking there, and I was like, if I was to be in a situation, right, and let's say it's unknown, then, like, I don't even know. Like, let's say something happened to me, right? God forbid. What would I do in that last moment to say that I got to be able to go to heaven? Well, what can I do in that last moment to, like, kind of rescue myself? And that was a thought that kind of went on my brain. And seeing my panic because of other people's panic made me think that we take time for granted a lot, because we think that, oh well, when I'm near death, I'm gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you, of course, may Allah help us all say shahada before we die. I mean, but like, if you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna quickly donate a bunch of money, I'm on my deathbed before I'm dying and I'm like in the hospital or I'm sick, may God protect us from all of that. I mean, but or you're thinking like, oh, I'm in a car crash, I'm gonna quickly like recite something, and that'll be the reason I get to heaven, or whatever you have on your mind and whatever you're delaying. Or maybe you're thinking that like, oh, when I'm, near death, I will quickly pray and then like I die on the prayer mat. Whatever your thoughts are, right? And may Allah grant us all the death of a martyr. I mean, but like whatever your thoughts are, right? It's like when you're actually in that moment, whatever you're delaying, you don't know if that delay is just in vain. And unfortunately, a lot of times it is. When you're actually panicking, when death is actually near you, or when situations like that are actually around you, you don't think about that. You ultimately are just panicking. You're like, oh my God, like I did not do anything in this world. I need more time. And that's exactly why, how we're always told that if mankind was to live for as long, we would always feel like it's a day. And I feel like in that moment, when I was thinking about my own ahira, and I was thinking about what did I ever do to account to something, I was like, I did nothing. I did absolutely nothing. And I was like, oh my God, like I gotta start over. And even to now, like till this day, like if something was to happen to me again, God forbid, but Allah knows best, I don't think that I ever did enough. And may Allah protect us from that. And I hate to sound like a pick-me because that's obviously not my intention. But I feel like at the end of the day, don't ever let the thoughts of I have enough good deeds get you comfortable. Don't. I saw and started to do this really beautiful scenario that I read, and it was like a quote, and it was like, you don't know if your public good deeds are going to be accepted or not, because sometimes our intention flip-flops, right? And inshallah, if you did it with good intention, sincere heart, you did it for Allah's sake, inshallah Allah will take it, of course. So don't be in doubt about that. But you never know what's going to happen, right? But the secret deeds, the ones that you do between you and Allah, 100%. Because you did it just for Allah. No one's seeing, no one's watching, no one's praising you, no one's criticizing you, no one knows except you and Allah. So when you do it then, it is, a lot more, I guess you could say, Allah knows best about what's accepted and what's not. But there's a lot more higher stake because you know that no one can ruin that for you, right? And so what you should start doing is stash up on secret good deeds. So if things do fall short on the day of judgment, you have a stash of secret good deeds that you did just between you and Allah. And every single day, I wake up and I think to myself, what is one secret good deed that I can do that no one will know about, but I know about it? And I genuinely put and I think about that. And I want you guys to start doing the same. Think about it. When you actually sit there and you think, you're like, okay, I could donate. Okay, what else can I do? What else can I do? And it's the small things, like very small things around the house, small things. And keep that a secret. Guard that secret. Just the same way you guard your bad secrets, guard your good secrets. And let your good secrets speak for you, inshallah, when time comes. And as for your good deeds that you did publicly, if God wills and they get accepted, there you go, man. Like, mashallah, you racking up the good and the secrets, right? But if things were to fall short, and who knows, what our niyat will be when we die and what the state will be and whatnot, inshallah, you will always have those secrets. So keep good secrets. And that was one of the big valuable lessons that I learned in my high school years, that, there's going to be lots of people that are going to praise you, they're going to like you, but don't let either affect you. When I started doing dawah on social media, one of the big things for me was mentally, as long as I'm getting praised, I guess I'm doing something right, right? And over the time, I just stopped caring. It's like I appreciate compliments. I appreciate sweet words. God knows how much I love reading them, and God knows how much I appreciate all the kind things people say to me. Alhamdulillah, I value them immensely, right? But ultimately, I always, and may Allah grant this, that I make dua that people's compliments or criticism doesn't get to me. Because the compliments can infatuate you, the negativity can break you. I have seen both ends of the spectrum. I have seen the criticism, and it has thrown me, and I was really upset and mad, and not mad, just feeling really emotionally damaged because of some of the criticism that I got towards what I do, and it hurt me a lot. But then at the same time, I was like, well, I don't want people's goodness to affect me, I don't want people's bad to affect me. Because at the end of the day, when you do what you do for God, and you do what you do to speak on haqq, whatever people think about you, whatever people don't like about you is fine. It's fine. Because if you are keeping your intention clean and you're doing it all for God, talking about God, preaching for God, doing it so people can hear your word, and inshallah you get benefited on the day of judgment, right? Who cares? Who cares? I know that I say some things that are going to piss people off. I don't care, though. That's the thing. There's been times when I have talked about haram and halal stuff and people blew up on me. And it was the biggest deal, but I'm like, I don't care what you think. Because at the end of the day, while between your sins is between you and God. We all have sins. We're all sinners judging other sinners in a weird way, unfortunately. And I hate that about us. We're all judgmental as human beings. All of us are sinners judging other sinners for the way that they sin. May Allah protect us. Ameen. But if me and you are talking about what's halal and haram, and I tell you, hey, that's haram, and someone doesn't want to care for what I gotta say, they get mad at me, that's you. That's you. And you and your business is between you and Allah, just like me and my business is between me and Allah. But ultimately, when Allah has given a decree for something, my job is to tell you. And if you don't like what I gotta say, that's fine. That is fine. Take that up with God, not with me. And so ultimately, I have seen those cases where I've had people blow up on me for saying whatever that I think is haqq in regards to the deen. If I believe that something is haram in regards to supporting from the deen, and even if some things are blatantly haram, like it's written, and there's some cases where scholars are disputing whether something's haram or halal, and I'm like, yeah, I think that this is honestly pretty much haram. The evidence supports it, so people blow up on me. Okay, fine, you do you. And then there's certain things that it's stating, like, this is haram, and then people, you tell them, they get mad at you. You can get mad at me. I don't care. You getting mad at me is not going to change what I'm going to talk about. You getting mad at me is not going to make me not want to do what I do. I'm going to wake up and do whatever I want to do, because when you do it for God, don't let people come in your path. I had 2 sweet girls DM me yesterday, and they're like, oh, we got inspired. We're starting a podcast. Just talking about it, right? And I've had lots of girls start podcasts before. And one of the things that I always try to tell them is who cares what people think? Who cares? Be delusional. If people think you're crazy, then be crazy. If talking about haqq makes people think that you're delusional and crazy and, over your head, then I guess I'm delusional, crazy over my head. And I am not going to apologize for that. And I recommend everyone who is going to start doing dawah to think the same. Because when people are going to tell you, when you're preaching the deen, that you're being an extremist, you're being crazy, you need to realize that you're living in the West and need to wake up. I've seen those too. Okay, sorry, I'm not going to change. And anyone who wants to go on the path of dawah, be the exact same. Be apologetic when it comes to, of course, preaching the deen in regards to your intention, in regards to who you are, because our characters are never going to be perfect. Our intentions are never going to be perfect. And I'm open about that too, that I struggle with all those things. So if I ever had a shortcoming in conveying the message of haqq, may God forgive me. But if you don't like what I gotta say when I tell you that something's haram or halal, or you disagree with me, or you are getting vicious and aggressive at me because I just talk about Islam, period, I don't care. I genuinely don't care. The same way, let that get to you. The same way when people are excessively complimenting you, it's sweet. Take it in. It's nice. It's nice to hear it. Thank God that people see good in you. But remember that people only like you because of the way that Allah has helped you come off to them, and because of the way Allah has covered your sins. Okay? And I know that ultimately, if you all knew me for me, I don't know if a lot of people will like me, because just like everyone else, we all are, not perfect individuals. So don't let people's words and don't let people's praises get to you. We always hear, don't let the negativity get to you. No, I'm telling you that one of the biggest lessons I learned was, don't let the negativity and the compliments get to you. The compliments will infatuate you, make you so arrogant and big-headed, and make you think that you deserve, all these praises when at the end of the day it's Allah that's helped you portray in a way, and it's Allah that grants success. And don't let the negativity get to you in the sense that you start to think that you don't deserve what you have, and you need to be emotionally damaged, and you start to go down that route. Why is it what people say to you when they say good things matter to you only because you want to hear good things? Mute out both. I'm not saying to not understand when someone's giving you, constructive criticism. That's a different thing. And I'm not saying to not say good compliments. Appreciate them, love them, be kind. It's sweet to hear them. But don't make that your forever 24/7 listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, learn when to mute it out and realize that, okay, hold on, I'm getting arrogant. I'm getting big-headed. Maybe I should take a step back. You need to know when to do that. If anything, when you go out throughout your life, you're going to meet lots of people that are going to maybe praise you to the point that you will really start to love them. That's fine. But you also need to remember that ultimately, the same way that someone can praise you and be head over heels for you today can be the same way someone can hate you the next day. Not always. For some people, yeah. So don't give your 100% and your most heart to someone so quickly in a matter of like a day and a half because they said something sweet to you, just because they have perceived you in a good way. Some people will forever perceive you in a good way, and those people, mashallah, may Allah, keep them in our lives and they will understand you. And then some people forever perceive you in a bad way and hate everything that you have to say, no matter what you say. Okay? So mute out the people. Only the people that will help you get better to your deen, will help you grow as an individual, will help you grow emotionally, just good for this world and the next. Of course, those are valuable people. Listen and understand. But negativity, let it out. Finally, the big other lesson that I want to share in here: follow your heart, but with your mind. Does that make sense? Now let me tell you why. When we say follow your heart, that means, okay, just blindly follow your heart. Go dive in, front face, whatever my heart says I'm going to do. And what do you do when you do that? You ignore your mind. You ignore your intellect. You ignore your logic. Something's bad for you. You don't care. You just dive in. Follow your heart, but understand it with your mind. That is the biggest thing that I can ever tell you. I kid you not. The day you start following your heart, but understanding your decisions with your mind, a lot of things will become better for you, because you'll be able to understand what your heart desires, but ultimately also realize whether it's good or bad for you. When people just say blatantly, follow your heart, it's not good advice, because your heart doesn't always want what's good. And if you say, oh, just think rationally all the time, well, us human beings are a little bit delusional, let's be honest. And sometimes always being rational, always being logical is just not the situation that works out. There's certain things where you actually need to show emotion, develop emotion, and share emotion. And in that situation, logic's not necessarily the case. But nobody's saying that you can't listen to what your heart wants, but you also need to pass it through with your mind. It's a two-step process. See what your heart wants and through it through your mind. You know what I'm saying? Get it through there. See, is this going to make sense for me? Does this make sense for what I've been through before and what I'm going through now? Does this rationally help me? Put it through both ends. Don't be that person that just 100% relies on logic all the time and 100% relies on emotion all the time, because either side will sink you. It is a scale, and you want to be in the middle of it. Think of what rationally supports you, but also emotionally makes you happy. Both of those things will help you become so much more of a better individual as compared to being on the end of the scale, on either end. I, for a very, very long time, was an emotional person. Follow your heart, go do what you want, and then it's always ends up in a train wreck. And then for a while, I was also a really logical person, but then I felt like I was becoming a robot, and I felt like I wasn't actually acknowledging me or my feelings, or that I'm a living human being. It was always like, okay, well, that's bad, so I'm not doing it. Turn around, two-faced. And we should do that if something's bad. But when sometimes you want to do something and you just start scientifically calculating it so deeply. Like, I know this happens to some people who have eating disorders. They'll go to the store and maybe they haven't eaten a candy in 3 months. They're like, oh, let me get some candy for myself. Then they'll be sitting there, like, oh, is it even worth it? Because watch, when I eat this, is going to happen to my body, and this is going to happen to my body, and this is going to happen to my brain, and I'm going to happen. They're just thinking about all the 100 different things, and it's like, one candy won't kill you, right? So sometimes you want to eat it, go ahead and eat it. And I tell that to people too, because I have girls who have eating disorders who listen to me, and I'm telling you, sometimes you have to reward yourself. Why not please yourself emotionally? I promise you, eating one candy bar will not kill you. I promise you'll be fine, right? But when you start to think about it so logically, what happens is you start to refrain from everything. And when it comes to the deen, we should refrain from what's haram and what's not allowed. But you should also understand your everyday dunya life to understand your emotions and understand what is logically best for you. The next big piece of advice that I want to give you: filter everything through what Islam tells you. If you're about to make a decision, you're about to take a really big step in your life, look at what Islam says about it. If you're about to cut off someone, or you're about to make friends with someone, or you're in an issue with someone, look at what Islam says about it. Islam has answers to practically everything. Not even, it has answers to everything. You just gotta look. You just gotta find it. You're gonna find yourself somewhere in the Quran. Your situation, your feelings, your emotions, somewhere there you're gonna find your secret. But you have to be seeking the secret to find it. You might find yourself somewhere, your issue through the hadith. You have to be looking for it to find it, right? So filter through what Islam says. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my life was whenever I used to impulsively make big decisions, and then later I used to be like, man, I'm not pleased with the way that Islam may see this. It's not necessarily haram, but it's like I just wish that I would do it the better way. Islam is forever and always the better way. Islam is forever and always the best authority and the best judgment. On the day of judgment, when you are in the court and the judge is Allah, you want to make decisions that will be beneficial to you in regards to what Allah has said to us, right? So filter through your life, and whatever you're going through, look at what Islam says about it. And I think that will help you and make you make better decisions a lot. I've noticed that my decision making skills became a lot better when I started to look at what Islam said about it, because Islam does not fail. And the day that I really put that in my brain that I may fail, I make mistakes, I will mess up. But Islam will not fail. It's not going to fall short. God will never fall short. God will never let me do, I guess you could say, go through something very, very I guess you could say, like, painful and punishment, because at the end of the day, whatever you go through, it can be a blessing for you if you learn to see and you learn to get closer to God through it. But ultimately, like, my decision making skills became a lot better when I realized, like, okay, whatever God has willed for me, it's gonna happen anyway. So I'm gonna see what Islam says about it, use my free will in that direction, and inshallah I won't regret it. The next lesson that I really learned was be careful about who you keep close to you. Even if they're your friends, you don't have to share everything with everyone. You don't. Even if it's your closest family, your closest best friends, you don't have to tell everyone everything. There are certain things that you can just keep for you, to you, for a secret for you. You deserve to keep a part of you. So stop telling everyone everything. That's one of the biggest lessons that I learned. Your close friends, your family, doesn't matter who it is. It's nothing wrong with sharing good news with those that you love. But, like, have a limit. You know how sometimes we feel this need, like we can't do anything without telling someone? Try to erase that. It's okay to share news. It's okay to share, sadness, happiness. It's okay to talk about it. But that constant need to be like, I need to be around people to feel okay? You want to get rid of that. Feeling like you don't account to anything without people around is kind of problematic, because long term, when, it's conditional right now. Right now you have a choice whether you want to be around people or you don't want to be around people. But if Allah puts you in a scenario where you have no friends, or you end up going to a job, or you end up moving somewhere completely isolated, it's going to become really difficult for you. So it's best to practice, realizing to be independent while also having the ability to have good company. So to end off, I wanted to share something with you guys that's a little bit cheesy. Just give me my little teenager channel moment, but whatever. I made an episode once where I shared, like, journal entries that I wrote, like, growing up. And now that I'm 18, right, I want to share the entry that I wrote from when I finished high school. And I wrote this May 13th, so a couple days ago. And I wanted to read it because it's cringy. It's funny, okay? It's funny. So let's just get into it. With less than 4 actual days of graduation, which is May 26th, I decided to journal about it for a while. I don't know how to honestly feel. With everyone either excited or happy to get out, or even sad, I feel numb. Not in a bad way. I just feel like I'm not leaving anything behind. I don't have any friends I care about, or anything serious, or any serious memory events. But I do remember finding faith, and that is what I always remember. Freshman year was packed, and so was sophomore year. I had so many images and people to keep up with. None of it stayed. Not the images, nor the people. And I'm in love with not having either. None of it served me. My habits, my questioning to life, and unjust situations just was not fun. I remember the 2 weeks off sophomore year from COVID changing me to my junior year. I was eventually okay with being alone, and I still am. Not much of quote missing bothers me. I feel like I found so much more happiness in God than useless relationships that don't impact me anymore. Ultimately, I'm okay with that. I think through it all, I learned really valuable lessons, and I'm happy to leave and start new. I enjoy being able to restart. I'm grateful for everything I got to take, and God has always been good to me. I skipped through some lines, okay? Because listen, it's cheesy, but I ain't about to be that cheesy now. Listen, every person, you gotta have a cheesy diary. If you don't have a cheesy diary, you're like, come on, you suck. You need to have a cheesy journal just for you. But that was my last journal entry that I wrote for high school, and it was cute, okay? It's sentimental. When I turned like 25, I'm gonna read that and laugh, but inshallah. So I hope that you guys like this episode. I know I have lots of younger audience that is like gonna go to high school soon, so I hope that the lessons that I shared helped you in some way, shape, or form. And I hope that you liked. I hope you liked what I had to say, and I hope that you'll have an amazing rest of your day. Assalamu alaikum.